actually don't have to make any clothes. There's enough to clothe generations and generations.
Yeah.
So with that being said, mostly anything is overproduction. If you do small runs and or, print by order, I mean, not print, but produce by order, which is probably the best way to do it. But if you do small runs, a couple of small, a couple of medium, a couple of large, a couple of extra large, and not only does that give you a great way of learning what sells most, and then you could start producing more in that particular size. But I mean, I just think it's a small run type of equation if you're really trying to stay in the vein of sustainability.
So the other side is we often hear a buzzword in the fashion, but only few really understand what does that mean, and that word is sustainability.
Well, born again vintage, I would say, is highly sustainable. And when I say highly sustainable, initially I started making upcycling pieces from vintage or thrifted items. Then it got to a point that people knew the brand enough that I got tons and tons and tons of donations. So as of 2020, Born Again Vintage only creates from donations. So I'm not even buying anything to create my pieces. So, it's about a zero, carbon footprint. So for sustainability, to me, it means production is thinking about the end, the end of that garment before you even make it. So before even producing it, you're already thinking about, okay, so what if someone throws this out? How is it going to, how is it going to decompose in the landfill?
Wow. That's the whole thought process before you even make it. And what's the misconceptions people still have about sustainable fashion or sustainable brands that you hear from them, or your student concerns?
You could definitely find cost-effective, sustainable fashion. I also feel like a lot of people still believe it's about hemp fabrics and organic cottons. So, like I said, I feel like we're in a bubble, especially in the US. It's only browns and beiges and, hemps and, organic cotton.
But as long we're recycling something, or as you have the vision or still doing in the born again vintage, instead of getting any new inventory, you just use or repurpose the old one that we already have. So if we get that by donation, or we get it from the thrift store, repurpose and going back to the people wardrobe, and they better wear it, because that's if they buy and keep it in the closet and just filling that up.
It's like I know I will never see a born again vintage piece in the landfill. I will never. Either it's such a classic piece. It's one of a kind.
So how do you approach teaching your students about sustainability at FIT?
Well, see, and that's the whole thing. I feel like I'm hands-on. It's not sure there's some lecture in there. So, they have to get the information, but by physically letting them know how, because that's the first thing. But I don't know how to sew. Everyone says that. And, to get that fear from them, because everyone feels like you really have to be some type of seamstress or, And I think by the end of it, I mean, like I said, I'm blown away every class when I tell you the way it starts and the way it finishes, and their mindset, and just the things that they said that they can't do, and then the things that they end up doing is like literally always mind blowing to me. As I told them, there's no rules with upcycling. So it's like whatever your brain could think of, we could try to make it happen.
So you're in the room with like 20 plus individuals with the Gen Z new mindset, fresh, and they're learning about sustainability. What is the recent memory that you might learn something from the students that you were like, oh, that's actually a great idea if we do it that way? Or if we do.
So, I remember one class where, so one of the classes at FIT was how to build a vintage business. And so I'm, doing the list of ways that you could sell. And it's like eBay, Etsy, blah, 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 da, 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 da. And then one girl raised her hand. She's like, what about ThreadUp? I mean, she named like 10 others that literally were not even on my radar. Here we are in 2025, and it's resale is $1 billion business. Well, I mean, I think anybody that's trying to get in it right now, I think the first question they should ask is, what am I bringing to the table that's not already out there? So what is my niche? What am I tapping in on that hasn't been tapped in on? And I think that I would also encourage them to research that. Like, because we don't need another, organic tea brand with graphic. So, that's what if you're going to start it, figure out why we need it. I always feel like I tell people you have to have some type of reason or a passion behind it, because just think there's going to be challenges, there's going to be bumps, there's going to be some hard times.
I want to do it, or can I join? I was like, dude or miss, if you're not passionate about, please, I would not recommend.
Yeah.
Maybe a trend, that's also whatever fast fashion thing. Maybe you can sell something as a dropship, or a trendy reel come out or meme come out, you put on and you sell it out. But
Right.
that's not sustainable if you want to build a brand, a reputation.
Right.
When you come into the face, answering questions, learning more stuff, implementing that, sales, website, social media, the quality of the products, delivery timings. If you're not passionate about it, you can't do it.
Story behind the brand name, just like you asked me about Born Again Vintage, and you want to have an authentic, reasoning behind that. Well, like I said, I feel like half of the sustainable brands that claim to be sustainable brands aren't actually sustainable brands. I feel like they should be more transparent as far as what makes them sustainable. Because look, anybody can say they're a sustainable brand, really. So if anything, I would say I would want more visibility as far as the process. And the reason why I fell in love with the brand is because they took me step through step on how it was made.
Wow.
And so what they did and the materials and they have like a small team, and I mean everything is just almost like how we were talking about vintage. Like the care was just like, and I feel like if more brands were open, I think it would be a win for all of us. Because I feel like if we just see it, we would be like, wow, I appreciate that brand for taking that much care, and I want to support it.
Of course.
Like I said, I think the first thing is always just giving out facts. Because I'm going to go right back to where I started. Sure, what people post, but like if people saw, like I said, what it takes to make a pair of jeans, if they actually saw that video, they would be mortified. I feel like, it has to be more about just putting the information out there and let people absorb it however they want to. If it's a visual and it's just facts and video, I don't feel like we have to even, I think these visuals speak for themselves. If we just put the information out there and let people learn, that's all we need to do. I mean, ultimately, I think the future of fashion is sustainable, period. And I hate that we have to get to the point of not having a choice for everybody to, to support it. But at the rate that they're going and the way the climate is in the world right now, it's no way it's going to have the longevity for the next 10 years. For sustainability, I feel like we're going to have to rely on sustainable brands. We're going to just have to recycle what we already have. So ultimately, everyone's going to be an upcycler. I feel like a great message to give everybody would be be easy on yourself. I do feel like this world, planet, universe can make things a little hard, harder than they need to be. And so I feel like if you're doing something is 100% from your heart and authentic, then things will work out so that you thrive where you're supposed to be. I just feel like if nothing should be that hard, life is hard enough. So like you just need to do what you love and put your all into it. And I feel like you'll be supported if it's natural and if it's from the heart. I just feel like, like I said, just from my journey alone, I think it's pretty obvious. And I definitely do not believe in failure, because I just know a lot of people in the world that don't try at all. And I just know a lot of people that don't try. So just trying is enough for you to pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, because the universe has better plans. If at the moment you think I couldn't get that done, maybe there's something new coming up, because I believe once you put in the work, there's no way that's not coming back, because we did the action. We'll definitely be getting the reaction. Hopefully Galvaning will be keep collaborating like this, being more value to the market, because that's the whole idea of the Zacian podcast, where we can educate the people and build awareness around sustainability or around this topic industry, because it needs it more. There
Right.
would be no fast fashion in the future.
Every person counts, and I just, kudos to wanting to push the information out there and share, and we all need our props for doing what.
No, definitely.